Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we were reviewing an old classic called House on Haunted Hill that was released in 1959.
This is an old William Castle production.
Yeah, I know we've already reviewed the remake and the remake sequel, but I thought we might go back a century or two to the original.
A century or two?
Well, not a century.
Well,
I mean,
a few decades.
A few decades before this one. That one.
I've been at Sarah for quite some time. I try to get in here saying we should do some more old films because a lot of the younger folk out there have not seen or maybe unaware of some of these older productions.
Right.
That is the reason why we're doing it. Not because, let's drag something out of the dark, dust it off and hope someone likes it. No, but, I mean, if you were born in the past, say, 20, 25 years, and your parents didn't watch these old movies and your friends didn't watch them, you would not know they existed necessarily.
And not to mention, guys, an idol of both me and Mike's, of ours, is also a fan of this film in general. None other than Elvira.
Yeah, she likes it. She met Vinny and she liked Vinny.
She liked Vinny, Vincent Price.
Yeah, Vinny, Uncle Vinny.
I imagine she really called him that in real life.
No,
not really. But I gotta admit that I do like the fact that she had taste.
No, but Vincent Price. Okay, look, back in the old days, for some of you younger guys, I'll give you a bit of a rundown. Vincent Price was a dramatic actor who also used to do Shakespeare as well as ordinary drama. So when I suppose he really broke into popularity with the William Castle movies and also the Roger Corman movies. He started coming out there doing this horror sort of stuff and sinister guys, and the way he spoke, his film presence, or screen presence, if you will. There's something about him. He blitzed everybody. I mean, he had some other good actors, don't get me wrong. Other people did similar roles. Basil Rathbone and other people. There were a lot of guys back in those days, but I don't think anyone was quite as good as Vincent. And I'm sad he passed away a few years back.
But he has
I think
done...
he passed away after Edward Scissorhands, wasn't
it? After he did Edward Scissorhands, I guess. Or in some other movies, who knows?
No, I think it was after. He died shortly thereafter. I think it was his last film.
And it was nice that he did so many movies. I even heard that, well, even though he's famous for the mystery, horror, and stuff like that.
His favourite film, do you remember what it was?
Song of Burdette.
Yeah, a religious film. So there you go.
Yeah.
But he was a very good dramatic actor who could actually do the sinister stuff without being too campy. That word, would you say that? Yeah,
I gotta admit,
he made it real.
Yeah, he made it real, especially that interesting vibe he gives off on stage or in productions.
Yeah, he's a very talented man.
You can hear it in his voice, and you can hear it in his face.
I wish I could speak like that. Yes. I mean, you guys like Boris Karloff. That's different. He's a different style altogether. He was sinister, but he didn't have the. To me, he didn't have the same presence. Yeah. And Boris Karloff was a hero of mine too, don't you? And as was Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. and all the others. But Vincent was in a class all by himself.
Yeah, you can hear it in his voice, the performance, and the way he just gives that expression of sinister. It's not sinister. Yeah. Sometimes you can hear it. You could see a bit of humor behind those sinister eyes to tell you something.
The look on his face, his body language, just different things. Yeah. He just made these parts come to life, or death. Yeah.
You don't know whether he's going to give you a sinister chuckle or come out as a funny grin.
I'm glad you said that because he could do drama, he could do a straight horror movie, or he could do a comedy horror. All with equal conviction. So that's the whole point. He was a very adaptable man.
That's the thing, guys. As I said before,
we're not reviewing Vincent Price.
I know. I'm just saying that you can never be sure that on when he's on the screen what he's going to do. Is he going to let out a really creepy chuckle or give you a funny but comedy grin?
When you think about it, Michael Jackson used him in Thriller.
Oh, yes, he did.
Alice Cooper used him in Welcome to My Nightmare.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, they knew his worth.
Yes. The man is worth thousands of laughs and thousands of cringes.
Chills and thrills and blah,
All
blah,
right,
blah, blah,
now
blah.
let's get into
Here
this.
we go. Right.
Yes.
Okay, a couple of little things here, the usual.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, I'm a bit tired. I've been sleeping well. Okay, now, produced by William Castle and Rob White was the associate producer. Now, William Castle made a lot of movies, but he did the original 13 Ghosts and lots of other good groovy movies. Anyway, William Castle, he was a producer and director. Rob White, who was the associate producer, wrote it. So it was almost like an independent, hey?
Right.
But, okay, right. I just go straight in. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. Budget. Now you like this. They made it for $200,000 estimated, because I obviously don't have all the figures going back a couple of years. And boxed office at 2.5 mil. That's about, that's a pretty good return on your money for its time.
For its time,
and then obviously there's the home media and stuff and everything else. So, yeah, the production company must be very happy with that.
I agree.
Now, what else? Oh, by the way, this was originally shot in black and white, but they did a colorized version as well. I really like both, but I think black and white, when they did black and white, they relied more on the grayscale colouring, I suppose. Is that the best way to put it? It's grayscale colouring, then colour colouring.
Yeah.
Now, which means is they made contrast and light and shadow were very important. When you transfer it over to colour, RBG or whatever, I think you lose a little bit. But
That's what I mean.
Feel free to watch either, but I think the black and white works better.
Yeah, I always think the black and white, just like if you look at the black and white Addams Family TV series.
It doesn't matter.
So you guys know, the walls in that would have been pink or reddish colour. Yeah. And it's unlike the ones we done in colour where the walls are a browny dark colour, in the coloured versions.
So they didn't care because it's black and white. I'll tell you as much. So, it just made, looks good. But, once you start...
But once you put in colour, you feel
it's not
lose
like
something.
in things like Psycho, the blood, when it's going down the drain. Well, that was actually chocolate syrup, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Chocolate. It wasn't red. It was chocolate because they wanted to get a nice darky colour to it, so it was actually a chocolatey colour, not actually a reddy colour. So you do lose something in the translation. So
yes. So anyway, so let's get into this.
Now, actors.
What about director? We didn't mention the director.
I did mention that already.
Oh, sorry.
William Bloody Castle.
Okay,
remember him? The king of the castle guy. Now. Vincent Price. We mentioned Vincent already. He plays the main role. He plays Frederick Loren, Loren. Actually, in the remake, it's quite funny that Jeffrey Rush plays his role, and his name is Mr. Price. Funny that, hey? Now, Carol Omart plays his wife, Annabelle Loren. Now, they have a very strained relationship. More like love-hate, a lot more leaning towards a hate. Richard Long shows up as Lance Schroeder. And Richard Long was in a lot of movies and TV programs back in his day. He was, I suppose, a poor man's Rock Hudson. He looks really good. He's a very nice-looking guy. Great personality. Works good on the screen.
He looks handsome.
I just said that, okay? Alan Marshall plays Dr. David Trent. We think he's a nice guy, but he ain't.
Yeah.
Okay. Carolyn Craig plays Nora Manning.
She's pretty.
She's pretty. She's a little girlie thrown in there just for love interest. And they try to make her go crazy as well. But we'll get into that later. What else? Oh, yeah. Elisha Cook Jr. Or Alicia, whatever. Plays Watson Pritchard, a strange little man who owns a house they're going to.
Well, actually, it's a lady. Let's name Watson.
Mr. Pritchard is the man.
Oh, sorry. I mean...
Elisha Cook Jr.
Elisha...
Well, it's E-L-I-S-H-A. I've never known a guy called that, but that's his name. And he was the owner of the house. But he showed up a lot of Roger Corman stuff as well. And things like the Haunted Palace, he's in there. He's always played the weird little guy. Yeah. There's a lady called Julie Mitchum who plays Ruth Bridges. So she's a journalist lady or something.
I suppose.
And you have Mr. and Mrs. something or other, and Mr. and Mrs. Sykes. They're the housekeeper and whatever.
Yeah, we don't see them too much.
And, wait a minute, there's a skeleton, and he plays himself. Okay, right. Had to get Skelly in there, didn't we? Yeah.
Well, me and Mike call him Skelduckery.
I've got one. No, you call him Skelduckery. I've got Skelly the skeleton sitting right behind me now with his hat on, smiling at me. He does. Look, have a look. See, there he is. Right.
Technically, they cannot see it because we're recording. We're on. This is an audio thing, so
well,
they
next
can't
time
see
we do
it.
a photograph, we'll have Skelly in the middle. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So I might get into the story side to it.
Can't think of anything else.
Usual.
We got nothing better to do while the time's going on. Hey? Yeah.
So we begin the story where we hear screeching, yelling, and gosh knows who else.
Starts on a black screen.
Yeah, it's all black.
Screaming. Whatever.
And then we meet Watson, and he's talking to them about how he's the owner of the house, and previously people had died in that house, and he then remarks that he nearly came close to dying at one point, but that's another story for another time.
Yes.
Then we cut to the house and we meet the head of Vincent Price, who calls himself Frederick, and he goes on about how this is a special, dinner party for his wife, his current wife. He's had several wives. He had like three other wives. Two died of one died of natural causes. I think two of them died of natural causes. One had disappeared. I don't know what happened to her. Does not matter at this point.
Yeah.
So he goes on a bit about how he invited specific guests, and they have to spend the night at this haunted house for $10,000.
Now, back in those days, that's a lot of money. Now, the thing is, he said, at least people were invited there, and he chose them. It was his wife's birthday. She didn't know any of them, and he didn't know any of them, but he chose them for different reasons.
Yes.
$10,000 a piece. If you choose to leave before midnight, where you go out with the housekeeper and a husband, you would have to forfeit your $10,000, and that'd be divvied up between everybody else. If you died during the night, I think it was the same thing going to happen, or they give it to their dependents.
Yeah, and if Frederick dies at any point in the
his estate will pay them.
The state will pay for him.
His estate. So everyone's happy and smiling, going $10,000. Now back in that, that's probably worth about $100,000 now or something, or
probably.
more. Yeah, maybe more. Yeah.
So the people arrive in funeral cars, hearses.
Yeah.
And we are introduced to the characters. First is Lance, an airplane pilot who is desperate in need of money.
Yes.
Everyone in this movie is desperate for money.
And I think he knew this through the grapevine, even though he didn't know them. So, he needs money, and somebody else needs money. Yeah. The only one who's really nice is the little girl, Nora, who's, I think it was a father or something got killed or damaged or hurt or something. And she's the sole income provider for the family. Yeah.
Next is Dr. David Trent, who's a doctor, and he is desperate for money. And let me see. There's Nora, who's a secretary to the Frederick for his company. I think.
Yes, he works for his company. He doesn't know her directly. No.
Yeah, and she was just invited
because she needs money
from either one of her bosses, his assistant bosses, whatever, who've asked her to be invited specifically. Don't know why.
Of course. He thought she'd need the money, but he also wants someone who might be impressionable.
Yeah, and like Mike says here, she is the sole provider for her family, and she needs the money.
Yeah, badly, for all the right reasons.
And we have Watson, the guy who owns the house, who, like the others, he's desperately for money, obviously. Yes, and he's I think he's a drunk. Duh.
Well, if you had a haunted house and stuff, they give good reason.
And what's the name of that lady you mentioned?
Miss Bridges, or rather, Ruth Bridges.
Okay.
She's a journalist, isn't she?
Yeah. Ruth is a journalist
with
and a gambling problem. And she's in need of the money. For good reasons. Well, not really good reasons.
Good reasons, bad reasons.
They arrive at the house, and of course, most of them are wondering, why are we selected? Out of the thousands of people, we never met Mr. Frederick and his wife up until now. So we think. Yes. Anyway, they enter, and the things are really creepy, and of course, they get spooked to an extent.
Ooh.
And let me see, what's his wife's name? Annabelle? Yeah, Annabelle.
Yep.
She refuses to participate in her husband's little game, even though it was her party.
It's her birthday.
And she was the one who selected the haunted house.
But he chose all the people. Yes. And she said, I don't know anybody, I don't care, I'm going to stay in my room and whatever.
Yeah. So he introduced himself and tells them that they'll have to stay overnight. In return they'll get $10,000 for, if they stay inside the house for that period of time.
Yeah, but they have till midnight. But the housekeeper and her husband leave a few minutes early. So if they wanted to get out, too late. There's no way to get out because they're locked in.
Nora, who is the main person who sees the ghost, is the most spooked by all this.
Yeah, she's very impressionable.
Yeah, the others, I don't think they even encounter the ghost. We see sliding panels. They get separated, in some of these scenes, just like those ones you see in those mysterious movies where you separate from the group and you don't know why they disappear.
It's always good to separate from the group, isn't it?
Yes, ask anyone. Nope. Anyway, so throughout this movie, we watch her descend into fear. Yeah, that's normally it's madness, but it's fear in this movie. So anyway, she encounters the caretakers, and she gets spooked by the caretaker's wife, who is blind
and weird.
She moves like a ghost across the floor, and
almost floating like Dracula's bride.
And like Mike says here, they split, and the door is locked. I wouldn't be surprised it's locked from the outside, obviously.
Whatever.
Anyway, so they're stuck for the night, and there was no way of going home.
Yeah, the housekeeper, they locked the front door on the way out. Yeah. Actually, what in the remake, the house was actually turned into a mental institution for a period of time. That's why it had all these metal doors and bars. They didn't mention it in this first movie, it had metal doors, metal reinforced doors, and bars on all the windows. So maybe it was used as a medical facility of some sort. Maybe.
Of course, Watson, the guy who owns it, he doesn't explain what the house's history is. He doesn't say it's a mental institute. It doesn't say if it was a hospital for the criminal insane. He just says that his family had stayed in the house, and about 3 of them died, obviously there. And he nearly came close to. He kind of witnessed it all. Of course, throughout his most of the time in this movie, he's like the Harbinger of Doom. Every time we see something spooky, he says that you're marked for death, all that stuff. Like you pulled the death card or something.
You're next. Okay.
He's always like this. Even when when Nora disappears, he says that she was taken by you know what.
He wasn't.
No, of course not.
He was wrong.
Of course, he continues to drink, and his sanity is put into question in this production. Anyway, we soon meet his wife, of course, and she does introduce herself to the group, and she meets and tells Lance, that's the guy we do see, who I think develops a thing for Nora, I think.
Well, she is pretty.
She's cute.
She is. Look, she's lovely. She's the. Dare I use the word She's a sex interest. She's a pretty young thing, and he's the handsome-looking guy, and they're bonding. You know, get the idea? Yeah. There's always been a bit of that sexual attraction into the movies as an added bonus.
Yeah. I like the usual one where you see the sexual attention, nudity, yada yada yada.
Yeah, this is all above. Before that, it was sort of like tongue-in-cheek stuff back in those days.
Anyway, so he gets introduced to Mrs. The wife, obviously, and she tells him about her husband's past history with his other wives. Like, one of them died of either a heart attack or whatever, I don't know, and the other two, two of them died, obviously, and the third one disappeared, and we don't know whether to believe her or not. I don't know if I believe her myself.
Well, you never know, hey.
She's probably planting the seed of suspicion, giving a little bit more the edge that her husband is either mentally insane or is insane.
Well,
anyway,
being married to her.
Anyway, so as the night goes on, a lot of mysterious things do happen, but the only ones that are affected by it are either Nora, the girl in this, and Lance to an extent, but he remains he doesn't think. He thinks there's a logical explanation. He even, at one point, Nora thinks she gets attacked by Frederick at one point, but
doesn't actually see who it was.
Yeah, she only assumes, and Lance asks her to stay in his room and to give. So also at this point, Annabelle's body is hanging from the rafter.
Yeah, we hear a scream or something.
Stairwell, sorry.
And there's she's dangling there, and there was no way in the world she could have hung herself.
Yeah, of course, everyone suspects Frederick because the others, no doubt, don't know her, and they have no motives.
Exactly. She's a nice lady.
Anyway. Yeah, but of course, we do see her a couple of times, lying on the bed, and he does talk to her, calling her a bitch.
In naughty words.
Anyway, but of course, he and the doctor, they go search the house for anything suspicious, obviously, and the doctor heads back into Annabelle's room, and I should mention, Annabelle kind of spooked little Nora and got her to go down to the basement, which is where exactly Frederick is heading. And so you guys know, they are trying to make her likely a person to shoot Frederick. They were trying to get her, spook her. And so you guys know, they also planned to make out that Annabelle didn't die, but was actually making out that it was a prank that gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So she can live, and the doctor and her could live out their days with the $10,000 and whatever.
Huh?
And the estate that she might inherit.
She would have got all Frederick's money.
Yes.
She would have got 10,000. Yes. He would have got 10. He might have got 10,000. Now she would have got everything else.
Yes.
He would have dumped him probably.
So both her and the doctor are lovers or love interests. Anyway.
Annabelle. Yeah. Naughty.
Yeah. Eventually, Frederick arrives in the basement and he gets shot by Nora, and she runs upstairs screaming. I should mention at this point Lance gets trapped in a wall, one of those fake walls things.
Yeah, it slides open or something or other, and he gets trapped behind it. Yeah.
While this is happening, the doctor arrives there, and he starts planning on dumping Frederick's body inside the vat of acid that's in the basement.
It was. Yeah, they were aware of the acid from earlier on when Mr. Pritchard showed them different things around the place. Why it's
there, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because that's the way the other guy, his ancestor, killed his wife and dumped her in there or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, point taken.
And they still left the acid in there, so handy.
Anyway, then the lights go out, and then we hear a bit of a groan, and then someone being splashed into the acid.
And we don't know who it is.
Yeah. Annabelle comes downstairs, and she thinks that sees the door to the acid is open, and assumes that Frederick is no more. But then something comes out of the acid, a skeleton, and it starts speaking
cheesy,
in that Frederick voice, and he starts trying to make his way to Annabelle.
So she thinks it's real because he's supposed to be dead. Yes. And she's hearing his voice. So even though it's clearly, from we can see,
yes,
not a real one.
He starts getting closer, and
he starts walking backwards,
walking towards the vat, and soon enough, without even so much as she tumbles into the acid, and she's no more.
Gobbly, gobbly, gobbly. And it eats everything up and just leaves the bones.
We then see that Frederick is puppeteering the skeleton. And he then steps out of the shadows, and he unhooks the skeleton and dumps it into the acid with his already dissolved wife and her already dissolved lover, I'm thinking. Soon enough, Nora and Lance and Watson and Ruth arrive, and they're confused when she says that she shot him and stuff like that, but he explains that he filled Nora's gun, with blanks. So he says no. Before the party began, he actually gave them some pistols.
Yes. Nice little Browning automatic or something. Very nice.
And Nora's gun had blanks. I think maybe the others may have had blanks too. I'm not sure, really.
Well, he picked up one gun and shot it, but that could have been the only gun with a bullet in it.
Yes. Anyway, he tells them that he knew his wife was unfaithful and that she was planning to kill him with her lover. Of course, he has gone ahead and disposed of her body along with her lover, and he says that whether he's guilty or, justice served, let the courts decide. And then we watch as he heads upstairs, and then Watson looks at the camera. Doesn't make the fourth wall, but he remarks 2 more bodies have been taken by the house, and he says that the house will come for him, and then we cut to the fade out or stuff like that, and we hear the screams of the ghosts in the house. We don't know.
They're adding to the numbers. Just like Rose Red, just adding to the numbers.
But as I said before, the only 2 people that were killed in this movie were both Annabelle and the doctor, obviously. But aside from that, we don't know if the other people do get killed off, or whether or not Frederick is going to look at a life sentence in jail time. I don't know. That's the interesting part to this movie, because you don't see them getting killed off in this later on at the end. We just assume that but then again, I think this was the entire. Even though we see a lot of creepy stuff, but I think it was more or less trying to scare Nora into committing the crime of sorts. More than less, anyway. The rest of the time, it was pretty much a controlled thing in that scene. It was nothing to do with it didn't spook the other guests, as far as I'm concerned.
No,
would you say, Mike?
No,
I mean,
so
none of the guests got ghost apparitions appearing in their rooms or any of that stuff. So anyway, I just to point out that I just think that this is more bordering on mystery than horror.
Yeah, I'd say it's, even though it's horror, yeah. But see, back in those days, the horror wasn't as graphic as it is now. It's like Frankenstein and Dracula back in the 30s were deemed to be horror, but they were, by today's standards, they're not horror because they may have an horrific theme, but they're actually a suspenseful or drama type movie. But anyway, so, it has changed a bit over the decades.
Yeah, it has. Anyway, I do think this movie was pretty interesting when I think about it.
Okay, here's some good groovy stuff.
Here it comes.
The exterior of the house is a real house, obviously. It was filmed at historic Enos House in Los Feliz, California. It was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and built in 1924. So yeah, great looking exterior of the house. It looked great. All the internal shots were soundstage. So that was pretty dang groovy. Now there's a few gimmicks in it to make it work, but they actually had some of the gimmicks. They had in some of the theatres actually had a skeleton on a pulley system. So when the skeleton was coming out in the screen during the movie, they'd have the skeleton come out over the audience.
Cool.
So a bit of a campy sort of way to deliver
I bet that
a movie.
would have been funny just watching that.
Yeah. Now, here's something which makes me sit back and go, ooh, okay. Now, due to Castle's gimmickry, the film was a huge success. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock took notice of how the low-budget film's performance at the box office, and so he decided to make his own low-budget film.
Really?
And this was Psycho, and Psycho is still watched today. So yeah, and there's several sequels to it. So yeah, he got inspired by William Castle. Alfred Hitchcock was actually inspired by him, and William Castle worshipped him, but he was rather taken by Alfred Hitchcock and his movies. So yeah, they were mutual admiration society. That sounds pretty close, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, you got to admit, Mike, that it is interesting how a lot of filmmakers, look up to William Castle or Alfred Hitchcock for inspiration to how to make your film suspenseful, give you the enough rope to get people, taken in by the story.
Yes.
I mean, you said it yourself in the odd occasion, Mike, about giving the audience enough rope and to pull them into it. I know that's not the saying, but you said it better yourself. I mean, what was the term that you used about giving your audience a lot of rope?
Well, what do you mean rope?
Giving them enough rope to get them interested.
Oh, you have to reel your audience in. You got to make them feel part of what's happening, and how do you put it? If you got a really good story and a good director and a good DOP and the actors aren't too bad, what's going to happen if you get a really good thing happening? The magic works. You get drawn into the movie. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you feel like, if you're going to watch a Western, you feel like you're part of the good, the bad, the ugly. You're going to watch a horror movie, you feel you're there being chased by Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees or something, because there's just something in the way the movie's put together.
Yeah.
And that's just bringing the audience into the movie is, I'll say the luck of the draw. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, and some of these movies I've seen, guys, they often don't capture the right amount of suspense, or if they do, they kind of put too much padding in it.
Yeah, padding. I hate padding. I'd rather have a shorter movie with not too much padding, so the story flows better and it keeps you interested, than having a movie that's another 20 minutes, half an hour longer, and you got boring bits. So yeah, I'd go for the shorter, interesting movie than a longer, boring movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway,
and that's the problem. That's what happened to Psycho when I first made it. There's too many dead bits, so they cut out all the dead bits they didn't like, and they made it really interesting and brought the suspense up. So yeah.
You can learn a lot from old movies, guys. Not to always make them 2 hours long. Try to make them at least an hour and a half long.
A lot of the early movies are only about an hour and 10 minutes. You got about an hour and a half, then they got longer. But yeah, if you can tell a good story in a little over an hour, why stretch it out by another 15, 20 minutes? Yeah. If you do a good movie in 90 minutes, why pad it out? Yeah.
Yeah, there are some silly people out there who think that I need enough padding to make this movie work.
2-hour movie, well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I don't know too much about reception.
Me neither.
Because it does go back a couple of years. But currently, Rotten Tomatoes received a fresh rating on their books at 78%. Okay, based on 40 reviews.
I see.
A place called All Movie has praised the film and retrospectively writing campy and creepy in equal measures. House on the Haunted Hill deserves its status as a horror classic.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is, and that's why we're doing this review tonight. It is, for you younger people who may never have seen it, even on Halloween night or something, this is a good watch. Bearing in mind it was made way back when, there ain't so CGI, it's all real stuff, and they've done it, with what they had at the time.
Yeah,
All manual sort of stuff,
And not to mention that even though the skeleton looked like it was, you could tell right away that it looked like it was done by
but
puppeteering.
It was supposed to be.
But it was really cool kind of puppeteering. It's like you can't really, aside from the hole in the top of the skeleton, the rest of the limbs didn't have. You don't see the strings, obviously.
No, So to her in a dark room, being scared by someone who's supposed to be dead, you're not going to be saying, "Oh, that's a fake skeleton with my husband's voice." So the point is, she was in the right mindset to be fooled by the fake skeleton. You have to look at the whole picture. So but irrespective, all that crap, it's fun. It's all like 13 Ghosts. I think that was done by William Castle too, about the same time. A good, fun family horror movie. There was a family in it, but it was done tongue in cheek. It was fun. It was campy. It was great. We might do that one later on too, but getting back to this movie, all you young guys, if you haven't seen it, watch it.
Yeah, a lot of famous actors have told me who done horror, they often express to me that it's always good to look at these types of movies to get idea from. Even if they come off old and cheesy, they also have the suspense you're looking for.
Yeah, that's the whole point. This filmmaking back in those days was based more on storytelling than how many special effects we can put in it. How's that?
Exactly.
So they're telling a good story to bring the people in, to entertain them, not saying how many people can wet their pants while they're sitting in the theatre.
Yeah, and you don't have to see them getting killed off. You can you can get
some of it's implied.
Yeah,
that's all. Yeah.
And when Watson tells the audience that I'm next, and then you are, it makes you think.
He looks straight at you. Yeah.
It makes you think that you're one of the guests in the house.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the fun of the movie. It makes you feel like you're one of the guests coming to the party, and if you do it in a nice, quiet, dark room with your bowl of popcorn and a hot chockey or a coffee or a glass of bourbon or whatever you're going to have, sit down there and just immerse yourself in the film. You really appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember in a lot of movies when they invite you in, it's always great to be giving the impression to the audience to invite them into the movie, that they become part of it.
Actually, it was either the original Frankenstein or Dracula, where Edward von Sloan or somebody came out the front through the curtains and introduced the movie. I think it was Dracula. And he said it might horrify you, and he's actually warning the people this is going to be a horrific movie. And he finishes saying, "Well, I did warn you," and he goes back for the curtains, and the movie starts. So he's talking straight to the audience in a theatre. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. Yeah, it's really good.
I do like it when they did that.
Inviting you into it.
And I also liked it when Alfred Hitchcock, when he did his trailers, he didn't use footage from the movie to tell the story. He just actually talked to the audience and
straight to the audience.
Even though he doesn't tell the movie too many detail, he just says so and so goes into his car, blah 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 blah.
Whatever.
Or in this case where he did the birds, he talks to the audience about how birds are our friends, yada yada. Sort of like a nature documentary.
Like David Attenborough.
Yeah, like a nature documentary with a little bit of things to make you chuckle a little bit. Anyway, so let's rate this now. Wait, let's go to the reception. Was there any much reception?
I said that. There's only one comment.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I've already done it.
Okay.
You weren't listening, were you?
Sorry.
You weren't paying attention. There you go.
Sorry.
Anyway.
So, let's rate this now.
I'm going to be really good. Now, I'm basing this on the decade it was done in. Okay, so and what it was for its time and when it was made by William Castle and with the money and special effects available, I'm going to give it a 10.
Okay, I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like it, and the fact that's made by a legend of sorts.
Yeah, William Castle.
And, well, I may not... I think that the other one, the not the House on the Haunted Hill, but the Haunting, the one that they made years around that time, was pretty interesting too. The Haunting, about the woman who goes to the haunted house and she gets spooked.
Haunting of Hell House, whatever. Yeah, that one. I know the one you mean. They did a remake of that as well. Catherine Zeta-Jones and everybody. The Haunting. I think it was The Haunting. Yeah.
Anyway, that movie was pretty interesting, but I do think this one has it does have something. So, but as I said before, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Now, where do you get it?
That's an interesting question.
eBay. There's plenty for sale, new and used. Amazon. There are rentable ones on Prime, and you can get some. You can buy some there as well. Mm-hmm. Be warned. Okay. There being an old movie, there'll be VHS copies there. Mm-hmm. And I saw somebody else doing something which is, I think it's MSTK, whatever. They do voiceovers, and there's a version of it there. Don't order that one.
Yeah.
You look for the William Castle movie with our good mate Vincent Price as the actor, and just get straight to it. But there's one there, that group who do those crappy, campy voiceovers and slag off the movie during it. You don't want that one. And I think it's MSTK something or other. If you don't want that one, don't buy it. I've listened to some before, and it takes away from the movie. You know, it's like listening to us. You know.
Yeah, I do. I imagine even Elvira probably has done her own camp of it, but unfortunately, I'm glad that she does it in between the.
These guys talk all the way through it.
Yeah, I hate those people.
It's almost like a commentary.
Yeah, I hate those types of movies. You don't hear the dialogue between actors.
Well, you hear it, but talk over it. Oh, look at he's an idiot. Yeah, go. There's someone standing behind you. All right. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Well, just keep talking all the way through it. It's crap. Yeah. How's that? Sorry.
You'd be surprised how many people are there on YouTube. They often talk through a movie like a comment. What was it called? Commentary? I mean.
Yeah, I know, but it's some movies when you buy the movie comes with a commentary soundtrack if you want to listen to the commentary, and they will actually talk. No, they will talk about the movie, the making of it, like a buyout on the movie. Okay, in different scenes, like the producer and director sort of stuff. That's different. These guys just making fun of it and slagging off.
Yeah, saying nasty things about it.
Yeah, so that's just me. Okay, I'm an old fart. Yeah, I know that. All right, okay. Okay, deal with it. Now, okay, I got little else to say apart from the fact it's a damn fine movie. I reckon everybody should watch this one and any of these other movies of William Castle of the same ilk. 13, Ghost, this one. I can't think of any other movies at the moment, but those old movies, Roger Corman movies, they're all really, really good. All the Roger Corman Victorian Tales of Terror sort, they're all great.
Yes.
So, go and watch them. Find them, watch them, have a good time, have a good laugh, have a good, didn't see that coming. Yeah, that sort of stuff. But, these guys made magic on celluloid. How's that? Good? Very good?
Yeah, that's probably the best word for it.
Very good.
So, that's House on Haunted Hill, guys. So, as Mike says, be sure to know which one you're going to pick.
Don't get the VHS or that MSTK, guys.
And if you want the...
I think it had the riff track or something. RIFFTRAK.
Yeah.
Not them.
Like always, guys, be sure to check the dates on these.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to watch the new
remake,
one,
the remake with Jeffrey Rush and whoever's in it.
Yeah. I mean, not them picking that part.
No, that's a good movie.
That was a good movie. But if you want the old one, I suggest...
This is the 1959 version.
Yeah, check that one out. Okay. I mean, considering that it has the local legend Vincent Price in it, and the bigger legend William Castle, who directs the thing.
Yeah, and we, as always, we would like your input. We'd like your comments to...
Not a commentary.
Not a commentary. Just someone say, hey, you're right. That was a really, really good movie. I'm going to go watch all the other William Castle movies. Or Vincent Price movies. or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, be sure to check it out. And also check out our other podcast episodes as you go along, guys, because there's some really good stuff there you may have missed.
We've done about 300 now, I think.
More than that.
No, about 300. It might be 305 or 310. I don't.
Yeah.
About 300. We've been doing it for a couple of years now.
Yeah. I know Rich, so you guys know, we didn't originally do this because there's COVID going around.
No, we did it because we love movies.
I intended to do it long before COVID hit. I wanted to do something where I actually wanted to sit down and review movies.
I think we started off right at the beginning of COVID. We had some friends here and we reviewed Alien. I think it was one of the ones we did with the group. And we were going to get them back. Then COVID hit and everything else and blah, blah. And and it's just that ended up with Sarah and myself doing it. And even though we don't mind doing it, it'd been really nice to get the guys back here and sit around the table. But they're all busy now as well, so...
Yeah, so that's...
It's just us. You're stuck with us. Yeah.
That's my reason for it, guys. In case you guys are confused and why we started during COVID and why we weren't doing...
Just timing.
Yeah.
Just timing. It just came out that way.
Yeah. So you guys don't get confused.
Anyway.
All right, then thanks for listening to those podcasts, everyone. Be sure to check out the movie and everything.
And please come back to us and tell us how wonderful you think the movie is.
All right, then. So that's it for us today. So I'm Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film and Review. Bye for now.
See you guys. My dog has fleas.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Yeah. You're supposed to be a cat, not a wolf.
Ding dong, witch is dead.
We're gone now. I'll turn you off.
All right, bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys.